Hey guys, welcome to Group Chat. We got some announcements today. We have a new schedule. I know you might be thinking, hey, it's Wednesday. Why is there a new group chat on my feed? We'll explain that in the beginning of the episode. But we got a lot to talk about. I'm going to do I know the guys already did their Coachella recap. I have a quick one. I'll throw in my 2 cents. I got back a little later. And then we have some news to go over to send you off through the rest of your week informed and entertained.
Let's
you ready,
go.
Anand? Let's do it.
Cash.
Ladies and gentlemen, Group Chat.
Cash.
It's $1 trillion. Hot.
We got a new schedule.
We almost made it happen.
I know, day one. So listeners, Anand and I had a good talk with each other, and we talked about my lack of showing up on the pod. We talked about our schedules. We talked about how much the feedback we get from the audience, not only just people coming up to us and how much it really impacts them. I mean, I literally just got off a call with a guy that I hadn't spoke to in like 6 months. And he was like, oh man, my bad. I feel like I talk to you every week because I hear you on Group Chat. So there's all these people that listen. There's some really cool people that listen that we're really pumped about. And, it deserves attention and all that. The problem is schedules, it gets tough. Also, I don't know of any other than Rogan, who makes $100 million for 5 years. I don't know anyone else who does 3 episodes a week of a podcast. We have a very aggressive schedule. So what we decided was we are going to attempt 2 days a week. Instead, we're going to attempt a much better attendance rate from me. And also everyone, it is better when we're all 3 on the pod, but I will say I'm the most to blame. But moving forward, we're going to do Wednesdays at this time. So we'll be up in the middle of the week to kind of carry you through to the end of the week. And then we'll be doing our normal Sunday time to set you up for the new week. So we feel really good about it. Feel free to share your feedback. Unless your feedback is do 3 episodes a week, listen. Bear with us here, but schedule what days of week you like to listen. Our thought is Friday. Most of you guys are probably like, kind of checked out or prepping for the weekend or whatever it may be. Maybe you're not locking into a pod. We feel like these are the best 2 days. So feel free to give us all of your feedback on our schedule, but that's what we're thinking.
Yeah, the intention is basically to have all 3 of us. I know we're off to a little rocky start. D was traveling and he's super busy with his business. So, that the intention was D Drama and I all sit together at least twice a week and do the pod. All the feedback we've gotten is people enjoy it much better when all 3 rather than some sort of hodgepodge of the 2 of the 3 of us. So we're going to do our best. Sunday, I think we'll have full attendance, and then going forward every Wednesday and Sunday, you should have all 3 of us.
So the goal is less episodes, but better quality. So like I said, you guys as our listeners, it is very important that we're kind of guessing at the best days, judging by your guys' schedules. And obviously we're going to look at the numbers. We're going to see what happens with the downloads. We'll kind of get a lot of info, but feel free to, as we go, share your feedback. Maybe there's something we're missing. Maybe Fridays you guys love because of some reason and Wednesdays you don't like, but let us know, and we do feel pretty confident that we'll be able to give you 1 less episode, but better quality.
Yeah, because the reminder is Joe Rogan, this is his living. D and Drama are running 2 separate businesses, so it's tough to get everyone.
And, we've always been very clear. If anyone gives us $100 million, we'll quit everything else.
I'll do 5 days a week.
I'll do 8.
Yeah, do 2 on Sunday.
I'll do 2 on Sunday.
Night.
Fuck it, I'll live stream my existence.
Golf, everything.
Yeah. So anyway, speaking of live streaming existence, I know I missed the Coachella recap, but if I would have live streamed my Coachella experience, you would have seen a man realizing he's getting older.
Yeah, that was pretty much kind of the gist of our recap on Sunday night. And I've never felt older, and it happened year over year because I went for the day last year and I didn't have that feeling.
Yeah.
And this year I'm like, I have no idea what's going on. I know we talked about this, but I'm curious your thoughts, drama fresh off 4 days in the desert. I know you didn't go to the festival, but you went to Revolve. You might have seen some other stuff.
Yeah, so I think for me, like a couple things. Like I agree with your guys' take. The differences for me are, number one, I'm the young one of the group, so I'm not going to lump myself in with you old geezers. But I didn't go last year, so I haven't been since 2019. And I think I said this to you when we were at Revolve. Is like probably what would have happened. Like the way we were trending is like 2019 was a little calmer. 2020 probably would have, a couple people might not have joined. 2021, it would have like eased out to this point. But for me, it went from 2019, which was pretty normal. Like we still had, Tyler, the videographer, with us. We still had stories from the after parties at 4 a.m. We still had all that, to like a totally different experience. So, I do feel anytime I do anything like that, like if we went to like a nightclub right now, I would feel how dramatic the change feels since the last time. Coachella, I think, was just a really big like highlight on that. Like it just feels it's just like a different world with different rules, different celebrities, different cool guys, different social things. Like it's just different. And there's like sort of these rules. I don't know, like here's who the cool guys are. Here's who the actors are. Here's the club promoters. Here's the girls that come with the club promoters. Here's the blah, blah, blah. And like, that's just so different. And, I was joking before we started recording that, with my, my upbringing, I was able to manage 2012 25-year-old reality TV star, right? I could do that. I figured out that role, played it. I understood it. It made sense to me. It wasn't too big of a departure from, my upbringing. But I'll tell you what, the current version, which I would imagine is like a 2023, like TikTok star, is probably like what the equivalent is. Or vlogger, maybe walking around Coachella. The rules are so different. I don't think I would have been able to hang. The fashion, I don't think I would ever be able to hang with the fashion. I don't think I would ever be able to hang with, like, you got to know a few little dance moves. Everyone's like a little performer. Everything is about content and, how it looks like your experience is. I don't know if I could hang. I'm glad I was, had my era.
Yeah, so I asked Javier yesterday after we got back, or maybe Monday. I was basically like, is this what goes on at the waterfront and Jameson and all these places? You're a 25-year-old young male in LA on the West Side. You go out every single weekend. Is this what the vibe is? And he said, absolutely not.
Okay. Well, that's
good. And he was at Coachella over the weekend. So
it's a little more normal at those places, or a little bit more what we were used to.
Yeah. And I asked him, I was like, what spawned this? What was the catalyst? And do you know what he said? I thought that was pretty insightful. Harry Styles.
That's funny. Because a lot of people were really pissed about Harry Styles, Like there's a lot of people that are like, fuck that, dude in a dress. It's like, shut up, who cares? And then for some people to think that that's funny. Yeah. Maybe it did.
Yeah. I mean, I saw pictures of Landon Barker and Charlie D'Amelio, who's effectively the first couple of Gen Z. Would you say that?
Mm-hmm.
Landon's outfit is something that we weren't used to.
Yeah, I also think that Harry is like he's like the first heartthrob to maybe dress in that like sort of feminine way. So I don't know. It's just funny. I remember being in the Young and Reckless office, talking about Young and Reckless early in the TikTok days. I'm trying to think of who like the it kid was, but we were kind of like debating like, Bryce Hall and Taylor Holder came into our office in like 2018 and we're asking, can we do like a capsule collection? And to me, that sounded absurd. I love those guys, but to me, it sounded crazy. Like, I don't know, like it was before they really popped off on TikTok, and it just sounded crazy. And then we started debating, like, are guys going to start to dress like these TikTokers? And, or is that just for the girls? And the girls love that look, but guys, it's a little corny to the guys, whatever. And I just, yes, they did. They all look like TikTokers now.
Yeah. 100%.
And even further.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's just eye-opening, no judgment. It's just, like we said on the last pod, every generation looks at the previous generation like, you guys are crazy.
Yeah.
And this is our version of it.
It's funny too. Like, you want to know another thing that's like was dead, at least in our, like I said, we had a niche sort of view of it, but like, well, no, I guess not. I don't know. Like, I was going to say like kids trying to dress like rappers, but I guess rappers are kind of starting to dress like TikTokers a little bit.
I think so.
Like the rap look is out. Like when I was young, it was like, the rap look.
Mm-hmm.
Fake jewelry for me at the time, big tees, baseball hats. That's not really.
I forget which rapper Javier mentioned. He's like, even this rapper dresses like that. And I don't want to like say the name because I don't remember it. And I don't want to like put anyone's
yeah.
name out there.
You want to know what else I want to say is I'm going to be really cryptic here on purpose. I heard a story. So it was no one that was near me. But I heard stories from people that were at the festival. And they were in a group with some really well-known, internet personalities. And hearing about like how they were partying, it kind of blew me away that like it's a little dark, like there's definitely some like hard drugs involved. There's definitely some like, too many people bothering me. Too many fans asking for pictures. Like it felt like kind of the stories you would hear about like movie stars in, the early 2000s, and just like, they had like their own little party scene and wanted to be left alone and sort of all those things. That is really how some of the biggest internet personalities are living. Like it's officially, it's officially changed. Like their lives are like movie stars in that way.
And in the sense that they didn't like the attention or they felt pressure or?
Yeah, it was like too many people coming up to me asking for pictures. Does anyone have any drugs? Let's just party.
What's interesting is these same people, I don't know who you're talking about, can stay at home if they felt like that.
Mm-hmm.
But they felt the need to go to Coachella and be seen by 200,000 people.
Yeah, but that's the thing. That's like celebrity life, That used to be like, you would hear those stories about like, I don't know, like Danny Masterson or something like, oh, I saw him at the party. He looked pretty cracked out. Like you'd hear kind of like those stories. I know he since has had a really bad history, but you'd kind of hear those stories like in Hollywood, or you'd see them. You'd be at the club and you'd see, just what it's like to be a celebrity at a club in some of those circles. And I just feel like those circles are now the internet personalities. Like I didn't hear one story about.
So what I'm trying to extrapolate is basically like we obviously were out and about, for a better part of our adulthood, and we'd see the Justin Biebers and be like, man, that's crazy that he has to live like that. And you're saying that's now the internet personality.
Yeah. Like, how sometimes we've seen people like that. And like, they just don't look great. It's like, oh, you're like in a party hole, like you're looking a little strung out, or you're looking a little like that's just kind of the dark reality of some like movie star life. Some of the stories that I heard were like, that is now the internet personality life. Like if you make it big enough, there's kind of like almost like the old like True Hollywood story, what happened to blah, blah, blah. Like I feel like those type of stories are coming for the internet generation in like 10 years.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And it's like the big TikTok names effectively, right? And the YouTubers. That's who you're basically referencing.
Yeah. I just heard this is why I want to kind of reel it all the way back in. It was just, I heard some stories from some people that were with these people, and it was just like, oh, that sounds like, I look at them as like kids. You make content on the internet, you're printing money, your life's great. You know, like that's just how I look at it. Now it's never that way, but like it just, some of the stories sounded like old Hollywood stories that you would hear, and like, oh wow, like it's already gotten to that point, you know?
Right. The staying out till 8, 9 in the morning, because we've had friends experience that at Coachella with very famous people, but they're actually very famous people.
Yes. And now that is the really famous people. I think it's just, I don't know. I think that's who the stories are about. I didn't hear one story about a movie star. I didn't hear anyone talk about a movie star. I mean, it was all
That's
internet.
pretty crazy. No, I mean, I'm trying to think. Who were the big stars? It was all internet.
It was all internet.
I saw Leo.
Some
Obviously,
music.
we said Leo was everywhere. He's just a staple.
He's everywhere. He's like I don't know. He's not going anywhere. You can always count on him. But yeah, I mean,
'Cause
you know,
I
probably at
remember-
Neon, like we didn't go to Neon. There's usually like, that's like kind of the movie star crew. That's the Leo crew.
I remember
But-
last year the big star was Fez from Euphoria.
Yeah.
That was like a big deal. He showed up to a party.
Yeah. But I was even like, in my house was, you know, Kareen and a lot of Kareen's friends and some of the people that work with us, you know, some younger people. And really all they were talking about was internet people, you know, like they weren't talking about seeing or hearing about movie stars or really artists even.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
New world.
But anyway, great time. I mean, look, I just want to give a shout out to our friends at H Wood and Revolve, because I just personally felt really lucky that we are able to, as we get older, and we'll probably be able to do this for a long time at the rate that they're going, we're able to just like pop in, and you know, we have nice you know, little areas. It's we're not in all the chaos. You can see what's going on. You can see who's who. You can see who's popular. You can see who's dating who's what the kids are doing, and then you can go home and you know, not have to worry about hangover or whatever, you know, party exhaustion. So
Yeah, no,
thank you
totally.
to
I
our
think
friends.
it's a great ability to be an observer of society without having to deal with the chaos of trying to get into these parties and you know, all that stuff.
I mean, think about that. Think about how lucky we are. Like if H-Win didn't become what it is, and Revolve, and like all these friends of ours that have these different things, and you know, it's in other places too, but at Coachella, it really allows us to have, like, you guys had a completely painless experience, you know, a couple long drives, but like, that's it. You were in your bed the night before and the night of.
Yeah, I was in bed by midnight in LA.
That's amazing. Well, it's a great thing. I do want to keep like going and checking it out and just being a
I
part
think-
of.
Honestly, just being a curious person, I think I at least need to do that day. Just to be like, what's going on with the culture?
Yeah.
Because I never want to be that, because there's people my age that don't even know what TikTok is in friend circles.
Yep.
And I never want to be that person where like, you don't even know what TikTok is. Forget who the big stars on TikTok. They won't even like engage in that. And
Yeah.
I think I'm a curious enough person, I think we all are, that we always want to know what's going on, whether that aligns with what we want to do or not, but at least be like, okay, understood.
Yeah, that's what I think is the cool thing about, like, even when it comes to group chat, right? Like the angle that we talk about, because it's genuinely what we do, is like we look at this stuff, you know, like from a business perspective, right? And also for our own sort of entertainment. But like, you can tell who's doing well by who's in what section at Coachella. And that's like a little bit of like the stock market, you know, like that's your own little personal social stock market. And if there's anyone in there that you don't know, you know, it's a little bit of an alert of like, wait, there's something I might not know here. There's something that, you know, is doing well, or people are loving that I'm not aware of. You want to know who, speaking of which, we're very in the know. He's a friend of ours, but who is like a rock star in the Revolve VIP with that crowd, the media, everyone. Ruigi from Rude.
Rude was everywhere.
I mean, when Ruigi walked into that tent, it was literally a bigger commotion and photographers and everyone making sure they got pictures with the Revolve crew, and then all the celebrities coming over, and like just a cloud around this guy. He was the biggest response I saw, which is amazing.
It's amazing. And I saw of like kind of brands with names on their apparel. Rude, I saw a lot at Revolve.
Yeah, huge. It was huge. But man, he's
still young, right? Isn't he in his 20s?
I think so. I think he's late 20s. But he just, I mean, on top of the world. That guy, if I was looking at that as my stock market, I'm investing in Ruigi. He had a huge response.
Great.
Okay, so there it is. You want to talk about some news?
Do it.
Okay, Brian Armstrong over at Coinbase is talking about the potential of leaving the US, right? So we've kind of had some conversations around this. You know, we talked about like FTX and Binance and these things that are international because of, you know, US regulations. Coinbase, the great thing about Coinbase is they are US based. They do play by all the rules. That's part of the reason why they're so great and so kind of differentiated from those other people. But with regulations being just such a mess, you know, kind of even playing by the rules, it's like, who's writing the rule book? What's going on here? Is this even fair? What's even happening? Brian Armstrong is now saying that there is a chance in the future they could move some or all out of the US.
So Brian Armstrong was in the UK this week, meeting with their top regulators and prime minister and all the like top executives of that government. And he did a series of interviews where he pretty much slammed the SEC. And the reason, which I think is like very on point, is so Brian Armstrong said, we've met with the SEC 30 times in the last year. 30.
Yeah.
And we have no clarity on anything of how the US is going to treat crypto.
Yeah.
And one board says one thing, the CFTC, the SEC says something different. And then, as we've talked about, Coinbase got what we call as the Wells notice, which is basically you're either getting fined, you either have to stop operating in this jurisdiction. And he's just throwing his hands up like, what do you guys want? Tell us. Because Coinbase, like their North Star, and which is why they're very unique in the crypto world as a centralized exchange, is we're working with the regulators. And they decided that back in 2012. If the regulators aren't giving you any feedback, they're just using this as sound bites. I don't know. What's the motivation of the SEC to not, when you're meeting with them privately and then you come out publicly and say something completely different?
Yeah, I mean, I have a theory. My theory is that the government is trying to, you know, do this, you know, they talked about it a little bit, but make their own crypto, essentially, their own digital currency. And they're purposely making it a fucking nightmare for anyone who's doing other. Now, that is nothing but a bit of a conspiracy theory and a theory, but that's what I think. I think they're going to slowly make it harder and harder because their long-term goal is to own it. And I think, to be honest, if you're the government, I think it's really, really bad. But I think if you're the government, of course, that would be your plan. Because think about Bitcoin, but you control the ledger. You know, it's brilliant. Like, just like you said, oh, you know, they thought that Bitcoin was a way to launder money, and for criminals, it's actually the worst way to do that. That's already as is. And the government has nothing to do with, you know, the blockchain, right? So imagine if they actually did, and you could see where every dollar of US currency ever went. I mean, when it comes to a government wanting control, that's as good as it gets. So that is just my conspiracy theory. I think they're trying to make it as hard as possible for everyone else so that they can slowly usher in their own.
But can't you do both?
I don't think they even know it well enough to know that you could. And it's it's sort of like the way Jay Powell has one tool. I think they just it's one track minded, make it hard for them, usher in ours. That's our plan.
Yeah, because the reality of the situation, it's almost similar to AI in the sense the cat's out of the bag. We know this technology exists and someone else is going to run with it. So us as the United States, who's still the biggest economy in the world by a lot, needs to get ahead of it as opposed to letting other countries advance. So
Yep.
like a lot of the Middle Eastern countries are being very pro crypto. There are a lot of crypto people in the UAE now, in Singapore, and these different countries where they're like, hey, we're open for business because it's tax revenue.
Yeah. But
And
imagine a
Brian
world
Armst-
where go.
Brian
Keep going.
Armstrong even said, and he did a 9-minute interview with CNBC, which we'll post. And he said, you know what's shocking, that even in Hong Kong, so crypto's banned in China, technically,
Yeah.
by the letter of the law.
Yep.
Hong Kong's now ruled by China. He said Hong Kong has better clarity on cryptocurrency than the United States.
Wow.
Think about that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's all I can imagine. Everything else is just pure incompetence, which is probably the most likely scenario. But you know me, drama's razor. I like the most entertaining scenario. And I think that it's an effort to make it as difficult as possible and then have their own.
I understand that if it was a centralized response, but there is no centralized response from the government because you have different people saying different things.
Yeah.
And we are in a dictatorship. There's going to be new politicians appointed and elected every cycle. So
the deep state on it.
Maybe it's a deep state, but I'm leaning towards incompetence.
Yeah, I think you're probably right.
I mean, it's a $1.22 trillion market cap economy with a 60% decline in prices. Think about that.
Yeah.
It's not going anywhere.
I mean, look at the way, obviously we keep talking about this, but the Facebook, in front of Congress testimony, that was like a complete joke and showed how incompetent Congress is. But then even when you look at the way this TikTok thing has been handled, I mean, they have the CEO up there, get no real answers. He was able to duck and weave, and then your bill has nothing to do with it. Like, it all just reeks of incompetence and no unified strategy. So as much as I like my conspiracy theory because it's fun to talk about, I just think, look, when you see those clips of how they handled those situations, how would anyone up there know what to do with crypto? Truly.
Nobody. They don't know the difference between Apple and Facebook. Why would they be able to understand a decentralized world?
Really interesting. Let's talk about Apple.
Yeah.
They now have a savings account. You get 4.15% interest. We've talked about this before. We've talked about their buy now, pay later program. We've talked about their whatever, but man, it just feels to me like every time they go deeper into banking, essentially, it's just like, oh shit, like these guys are going to fucking run the world.
I think they are the competent version of what you described the deep state as.
Yeah, you're right. 100%. Because I'll tell you what's not failing, the Apple Bank.
No. The Apple Bank is well capitalized.
Well capitalized and just too smart and too database. But man, if you already think about how wild it is that Apple is essentially now the infrastructure to our media and communications. It's the way everyone communicates. It's the way everyone consumes media for the most part. If you took in banking, and it's so easy because everyone's shopping, we have web stores. We know everyone else's web data. It's all mobile. No one's shopping on desktop. Everyone's shopping on their iPhones. And if you just had that all tied in together, it is just, it makes total sense. And it would just be such a beast.
Yeah, so I know rich people can get access to high interest rate earning accounts in this high interest rate environment. But the national average for someone putting money in their savings account is 0.35%. This is 4.15% with no minimum balance. So, For example, CIT Bank offers a savings account with 4.75% annually, but you have to have a minimum balance of $5,000. And Marcus by Goldman Sachs has 3.9%. But this is with zero balance, zero fees.
It's just wild. And it's wild.
And once Apple controls the payment system, the banking system for everyone. I mean, the opportunities are endless.
Endless. And just imagine the stuff they can do. I mean, they've already been so good at, like, for instance, like being able to lease a new phone, or not lease, but like do the payment plan is like so easy, you know. And I know a lot of people that are just on this, like, I don't know, I just pay like $20 a month and I always get the new phone.
Yep.
But imagine if that's all integrated together and it's just like, hey, we'll just auto debit blah, blah, blah from your account, or hey, put this much in savings and your interest will pay for your new phones, or whatever. Like the way you could sort of nudge people to use that money to buy Apple products, to me, is what sounds like wild, you know, with buy now, pay later and with all these things. It's just the amount of power they would have is crazy.
And the amount of data they have. So they already obviously track everything that we all do daily, because everything's done via the phone, and our faces,
our thumbprints,
and our voices, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And now they know where we're spending all our money.
Yeah.
I know
like
Ari's
it.
a big Apple Pay guy. He was lecturing me about it last week.
He uses Apple Pay?
Apple Pay is great because they hide all the transactions. Nobody knows where your money's going. I love it.
What do you mean by that?
So if
Like,
you have
like, tell me
Apple
a
Cash, or
comparison.
if you use your like Apple Card,
Yeah.
whenever you use that payment at the terminal, it comes up with like a fake card number and like a fake name, and so the person you're purchasing from doesn't even know where that money's coming from, and I love it.
Huh. That's like a privacy thing, like a perk?
Yeah.
And do you
Great.
do like the scan the phone move?
Yeah, exactly.
And
Or
like
even
this-
Apple Cash, somebody like texting somebody money.
I need to get, I mean, it just, in theory, it sounds so good, but I don't use it at all. So like, do most places you go accept the phone swipe?
Yeah.
So you don't really
Almost
carry
everywhere.
credit cards with you?
I mean, I carry my wallet, but it's in my backpack. Like, it's not on my person.
I mean, he
Got
was
it.
saying we could use it downstairs at Lisa's.
Yeah, exactly.
And then just
I
like
pay with Apple
Venmo,
Pay
but
every
instead
time
of,
I go downstairs.
instead of having to open Venmo, you can just text someone like, hey, here's $20 for gas.
You can literally text somebody. You can use your like Venmo balance, but your Apple balance to pay as a credit card payment, even though it's just an Apple balance. It's sick. It's great.
Wow. I wish I would have checked in on that at Coachella. Like, are the young kids using Apple Pay?
Probably.
Gotta be, right?
There's going to be no cash at Coachella.
Are we old? Are we old just using Venmo? We're the fucking old guys?
That's what Ari was hinting at last week when I said I don't use Apple Pay.
It just in theory sounds so great. Like to only really have to carry your phone most places, to be able to text someone money. Because I still pay a lot of people.
Also
You know,
scary that your entire life, if you
Yeah.
lose your phone, your life's over?
well, but what I love
temporarily?
is like I would rather lose my phone that's like has all this password shit and you can wipe it remotely than lose my wallet.
Yeah, I hear you, but there is definitely benefits of fragmentation in life.
I agree with you. But I've lost a phone before and tracked it, saw that it was definitely stolen, erase it remotely. It was a pretty good experience.
Yeah.
They didn't
No,
get
totally.
anything.
I just think in general, even though if you rely on Apple Pay, you rely on your phone for everything, you should still have fail safes for being able to
Yeah,
exist if your phone's gone.
You never want one thing to be everywhere. And I will say there was one time when my Apple ID password got hacked and it was a fucking nightmare because it was like they had my Twitter, my social media, my everything. So you're right. I mean, you never want everything everywhere. But hey, you tie in now your bank accounts there. I don't know. I mean, look, yeah, this whole thing is scary as shit. But with AI going on and this, and I don't even know what to be scared of anymore.
I think
I'm just
have
along
to,
for the ride.
I think that's the way because it's all happening regardless of what anyone's
Yeah.
views are. Crypto, AI.
I'm just going to
doesn't
hang
matter.
out and fucking podcast about it.
Yeah.
Do you see Apple's
Every-
opening a store in India? They just opened one?
Yeah, Tim Cook is he likes the Hindus. He's out there right now.
Me and Tim
You and Tim.
both got our cards.
So they opened their first retail store in India, and he met with Prime Minister Modi to basically figure out how to build real manufacturing sites in India. So it's diversity from China, because everything's done in China.
Yeah.
And it's smart. And, you know, they've basically have conquered the rest of the world, but in India, it's an Android-centric universe.
Mm-hmm.
So the rich people obviously have the iPhones, but your average Indian consumer has an Android, just significantly cheaper. And, you know, billion plus people, they're actually overtaking China this year in world's most populous country, which is kind of crazy.
And it sounds like China's going to zero in 10 years.
Yeah, exactly. If you believe Zayhan.
Yep.
So, yeah, it's a strategic move. When a CEO like Tim Cook, who's one of the biggest, most important CEOs in the world, shows up, it means business.
Yeah. Yeah, the opportunity there is so mad. It's crazy like how big Apple is, and then like it's their first store in India, which is such a crazy populated
their
area,
penetration's negligible.
Yeah. That's
I mean,
wild.
I've been to India a million times. No one has iPhones other than rich people.
Yeah. Okay. Well, hey, I don't know. I just love how like in this tech world, you know, like with Microsoft having ChatGPT, like everything, like this technology is all owned by one of the behemoths, and it just feels like who's gonna win the world first. Like it feels like the race to like world ownership. You know, like Apple owns our banks and our media and our data, and then Google owns our fucking digital gods. Did you hear Elon say that Larry Page, his vision was to create a digital god?
I did not. Where did he say that on Twitter?
He was on Tucker Carlson.
Oh my God.
He went on Tucker Carlson. He was talking about how he's scared of AI. And he was saying that one time he was hanging out with Larry Page, and he was concerned about Larry wanting to create this, you know, massive AI. And he didn't feel like he was taking human beings into account enough, or our safety, or how this could go wrong. And he said that Larry Page said that he essentially wanted to create a digital god, and called Elon a speciesist for being more concerned about humans as opposed to any sort of consciousness. And he said he was serious. And he said that's why him and Larry don't talk anymore, and that's why he started OpenAI and all this stuff. Fascinating.
So he just didn't want Google to control it.
He thought, because you know OpenAI, you know this, but for the listener, OpenAI was created to always have majority, you know, never be majority owned by a corporation, and it was always to be the leader in AI, but never have corporate interest. And it was because of a response, like maybe we can beat them, maybe we can beat Google and do it the right way, is what it sounds like. So
yeah, and then OpenAI went private.
And our digital god is called Bart.
Or OpenAI.
What's it called? What's Google's called? Isn't it Bart?
Bard.
Oh, Bard. Oh, it's crazy. Okay. Here's some good news for all of our listeners. We always try to put you on, new information, or a place where you can make a quick buck if there's anything out there. And we have some good news. Anyone who has used Facebook in the last 16 years is eligible for settlement money. Cash time. We got our next round of stimmies. It's coming from Mark.
Yeah, Ari was very excited about this. What's the deal, Ari?
What's the deal, Ari?
I don't know. I just somebody sent me the form, and I heard like I'll get like $5. It's like that's a free coffee right there.
Yeah,
coffee on Mark.
Exactly.
$725 million settlement by Meta tied to privacy violations. All you have to do is fill out a claim on the website. Get your $5. Go for it.
It autofills. Takes less than 30 seconds to fill out the form. Bang.
I hate to be this guy. And I'm not in any way making fun of you, Ari, but it's really funny that like the way that we work as humans is like Facebook violated some probably massive like privacy shit. And then like there's this huge settlement. And instead of being like, damn, like, you know, our privacy is being violated, we're like, fuck yeah, $5.
Right. No one gives a shit about the privacy.
Yeah, like literally, if you're a company who did something terribly wrong, just buy everyone a coffee, man, and you'll be fine.
Yeah, I mean, it's no one cares.
Yeah. Now if you give him a couple bucks.
You can do anything. Ari will turn alt-right if you gave him $20.
Yeah. He would. He'd go from
That's too
socialist to
far.
alt-right. What's the price, Ari, to...
$1 million, 500,000, 100,000.
To quote Abby Hoffman, my life.
Okay, well, I don't believe that because I just saw the way you reacted to $5. Hey, you want me to tell you something too funny on it? Is this like we talked? I don't know if we talked about this on the pod or not. But we talked about this. We talked about how Trump went to UFC and got like a crazy reaction, like positive.
Yep.
And then you and I have talked. And I don't remember if it's on the pod, but we've talked about how like there are now like a lot of young people, like influencers and YouTubers and stuff, streamers that like say positive things about Trump. And that used to be like a death sentence, 5 years ago. And now it's like pretty out in the open. There's this streamer named Aiden Ross, who I know all the youth knows. He's a massive personality on like streaming and YouTube and stuff. He posted a vlog from his UFC trip. And he's sitting like cage side, and it's like him and all the other, streamers and internet people and whatever. And the way that they all reacted when Trump walked in and like walked right past them, and they all said hi to him, and they all said, "Oh my God, he's the GOAT, and nice to meet you, Mr. President. You'll be back in there in no time." Like Aiden ran over and took a picture with him, like all this stuff. And not only did they do this like in private, but they posted it, and no one's like, it's just really interesting how that sentiment has changed. Like your career is over 5 years ago if you did that as like a social media person. And they were totally all doing it. They were all flipping out. And they're like, "Oh, the GOAT, you'll be back in there 45. Like it was so crazy.
Yeah, I saw Aiden Ross walking up to Trump, telling him he's going to be back in there. I saw the clips. It's all positive.
Mm-hmm. Pretty wild, right?
Very wild. And I feel like we talked about this probably like 12 to 18 months ago when it was shifting, where you can do an interview with Trump and no one cares. Like, I almost feel like Portnoy was one of the first to do it.
Yeah, he was.
But
even he was pretty open at the time about like, look, I don't like Trump. It just like I didn't vote for Trump. I'm not a Trump guy. I'm not going to turn down an interview.
Yeah, he's like, I'm in the job of, generating content, and why wouldn't I go to the White House and interview Trump? And I feel like he kind of broke the seal. Yeah. And it's escalated to the point where everyone's like, yeah, fuck it. We know it's getting views.
It's crazy. It was crazy to see also like the other people it wasn't even their vlog. They were just, it's kind of their just natural reactions. Everyone was hyped. All these internet people,
What's interesting is if you saw Coachella and the culture of Coachella last weekend, and then you say the biggest streamers can post Trump and it's all viewed positively. Yeah. Those two worlds shouldn't really coexist.
No, there's no one world anymore. Like, imagine this weekend is Coachella weekend too, but then the next weekend is Stagecoach. Might have a different reaction there.
Yeah, they're machine gunning Bud Light
all weekend. I heard they have a shooting range with Bud Light at the
They probably do.
Oh my God. Okay, what about an AI check-in? I mean, there's this, like I said, there's this Elon interview on Tucker Carlson warning about it. They talked about it on All In. It seems to be like the real topic of the last week or two has really ramped up, like the fear of AI. There's this new thing, Auto-GPT. How are you feeling? You're more tuned in here than I am. I'm just going to go ahead and roll with generally scared.
I think extremely scared.
Okay. Got it.
Because the pace of the way this is moving is unlike anything we've seen in technology ever.
Yeah. Yeah.
And every week every 48 hours, there's a new breakthrough with AI. So now Auto-GPT, which is an open sourced platform that uses the OpenAI API to create products around it. And what you're noticing is now so ChatGPT, you have to physically prompt it.
Mhm.
Okay. So you say like, hey, give me 5 places to eat in West Hollywood, and ChatGPT will spit that out.
Yeah.
Auto-GPT, which is what all the developers are, I think the fastest growing thing on GitHub, which is like the repository for software code.
Yeah.
And it iterates on top of what your original prompt is. So you don't need to keep prompting it. It just basically replaces, I don't know, assistance, everything. Like it literally just goes 10 steps further from what your first ask was. And
So
gives
it's
you a
not like
full-
what's the top 5 restaurants. It's like, I want to go to Greece. Here's the travel, the restaurants, the things to see, the things to do. Like it just gives you the whole thing,
It just keeps
right?
going. It just keeps going. It just keeps iterating.
Oh my God.
I mean, there's tweets of people that said they worked in copyright at some large corporation. They got fired because of ChatGPT. They're just realizing you don't need these people. And
I mean, it's just like, how were we not talking about this like at all until GPT-3 came out not long ago? And then now, like, it just feels like, what? This feels like 5 years of innovation in a month.
yes, it's exactly that. And I think if you run a business, there is a use case for Auto-GPT, ChatGPT, all of it to basically replace employees. And I feel like people are quietly doing that now. And ultimately, it's just going to be widespread. Do you think Zuck's not going to figure out how to eliminate 40% of his staff using these tools?
I mean, especially these things that can code what you ask it to code. I mean, for all those type of companies, that has to be a huge bill.
Yeah, and then iterate on top of it and make sure it's right. And you don't need anyone checking it because it's right.
Yep. Well, I don't know how this happened, man. It feels like
no one was talking about this 6 months ago. And now we're talking about people getting I think the smart companies are reorganizing their entire business around this stuff.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what your business is. You can use this for anything. Like, you don't need to be a tech business to take advantage of Auto-GPT or ChatGPT.
You know what else is like, when everyone was talking about Web3, I always felt, I'm not trying to say I told you so, but I am trying to say I always felt like, yeah, but when, man? Like, I don't see people putting on goggles. I don't see people, like, I just don't see it.
Yep.
AI, you don't have to see it. Like, it's just like,
it's there.
It just works. You know what I mean? It doesn't require Oculus goggles. It doesn't require you to understand why a JPEG is worth $300,000. It just works.
And it's so funny. Like, there were a lot of people that opine on tech stuff probably 35, 40 days ago about ChatGPT. Well, if you actually look at it, the responses aren't that accurate. If you actually follow these topics, these aren't right. Now Auto-GPT comes on and everyone's like, never mind. It's perfect.
Oh my
and it's not even, it's going to get even more perfect.
Can you use it right now?
Yeah, you can sign up. There's a paid account. If you go on OpenAI, you can pay for an account. I haven't used it, but I know you can.
Wow. Okay, well.
So developers are doing this right now and building all this stuff. And it's going to reduce the cost of building massive corporations.
The other thing that's scary is everything we talked about at the beginning of the episode about like regulation around Coinbase or crypto.
Yeah.
And like that already feels like 3 decades old. Like, how the fuck are you going to wrap your head around or try to regulate or try to have any safeguards for AI?
There's no chance. It's too late. I mean, Dee and I argued about this last episode. The Drake Weekend song.
Yeah.
I was like, you can't stop it. This isn't Napster 2001. Now you have 5 billion internet users that can keep posting this stuff. How are you going to stop everyone? It's impossible.
And the problem is now it's gotten good. Like, that song kind of blew up, like, because people just like the song.
Yes.
Like, if it's a gimmick, like, oh, look at fake Drake and fake Weekend, that's different than people being like, whoa, dope song. They don't give a fuck if Drake recorded it or not. They don't care.
Of course not. It's almost similar to early days of TikTok, songs that no one was checking for in mainstream music became massive because people are like, oh, it's cool. Let's do a dance to it.
Okay, well, I've never been more confused. But like we said, luckily we have a podcast, so we can just sit back and watch. And I don't know, we've been saying it for a long time, but it might be time to look into those bunkers we've been talking about.
Yeah, I think the real problem is if the regulators have had a decade to look at crypto and still have no idea what they're talking about,
Yeah.
how are they going to figure out this phenomenon that's happened in months, let alone every week and day it's changing?
Yeah. Yeah, it's fucking wild. Okay, well, how about this? This feels like a foreshadowing of like my worst fears of AI, but Southwest has just been having problems. You know, they had those crazy problems with all their flights being canceled and all that over the Christmas holiday. Sounds like a lot of like, from what I understood, like, computer problems. Now, currently, thousands of flights are delayed because of a glitch over at Southwest. And this seems like something that AI could do in its sleep, glitch out a Southwest,
They could glitch out anything. They could glitch out the power grid. Southwest is the least of our worries. Grounding 5,400 planes.
Yeah. I mean, that's child's play.
It's all like the movies from 10, 15 years ago where it all seemed unimaginable.
Yeah.
Like even was it the last Die Hard where they just like start messing with society, turning traffic lights off and people are running into each other. You're like, that couldn't happen.
Yep. And look, to be clear for the listener, we're not saying that this is AI, but it just feels with this story right after that story, it just feels like, and here's an example of how easily things can be disrupted, Yeah,
it's the counter to amazing technology. If you have bad actors behind it, which is why everyone's so scared of AI. It doesn't take that many bad actors to create large catastrophes.
Yeah. And I think we've talked about it for a while, like maybe us a little bit, but I just mean like the US has talked about how, power grids and that stuff, there's certain vulnerabilities to Russia and foreign adversaries and, whatever, and how they could really disrupt a lot pretty easily with those type of moves. And I just feel like, I don't know, like even if AI doesn't become its own, sentient being, even just that in the hands of adversaries feels really scary.
Yeah, because I'm of the view that foreign governments already have the hacking ability to do all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But then it becomes an act of war. Yep. And the US can just obliterate Russia, North Korea, China, any of these countries, and the world ends.
Mm-hmm.
But now that the technology's available for everyone, you can't stop it.
Yeah, and it just feels like you could be Russia and you could say like, shut down the US power grid and make it look like China did it.
Of course. I'll pay pay some kid in, I don't know, anywhere in the world and say like, hey, here's the technology, go do it. You'll be the one that goes down if they catch you. But
we'll take care of your family.
Your family gets paid.
Yeah. Oh, man. Okay. Well, I think we said it a couple episodes ago. Everyone just, enjoy yourself. And really just human fun experiences are key at the moment.
Yeah.
Okay. Last story before we move on to our winners, losers, and content. Fox, they had this big lawsuit with Dominion voting systems. That's where a lot of the private opinions of Tucker and some of their hosts and some of the text messages had been exposed. But the lawsuit has been settled. Fox has settled.
Yeah, I think the really wild part about this is Fox is like, yeah, we lied. Here's $780 million. Cover up our lies. Like we lied to our audience for a couple years about fake voting fraud. And this is now just like the cost of doing business, it appears. That in order to maintain their audience, and I'm not saying MSNBC and CNN don't do the same, but they haven't been sued at this scale. And they're like, look, we can keep lying to our audience.
Yeah.
And if we have to pay a speeding ticket, we pay it. But it just kind of, the larger point is the news is no longer the news, it's entertainment.
Yeah.
But the problem is the entertainment is reinforcing how people act in the real world.
Yeah.
Which is why January 6th happens.
Yeah. You know what drives me nuts is like, this feels to me exactly like, some of the cigarette lawsuits or even some of the pharmaceutical lawsuits where like, hey, you were wrong and you hurt people essentially. And those are really fucked up too. But like, at least like with cigarettes, like eventually they had to start putting more warning labels on the boxes, causes cancer or you couldn't smoke in certain places or, whatever. And it just feels like the people who are actually getting hurt, which are the viewers that take this as fact, nothing changed for them. They weren't familiar with like, these texts and these little things that happen. They don't know that it was essentially they just admitted to lying. And there's no like there should be a warning label at the front of every one of these shows. There should be an audit on what's going on, just like a cigarette company, because I think the left does it as well. And there should be a warning label of this is entertainment, not to be taken as news and could be harmful to your mental health. Because it's no equally poisoning people.
Going to an AMC or Pacific Theaters and like, hey, I just want to be entertained for a few hours and watch a movie.
Yeah. Yeah. It just should have a warning.
It's Dan Primack from Axios breaks it all down and says that this might be the greatest private equity deal in history because Staple Street Capital bought Dominion Voting Systems in 2018 with a $38 million equity check.
Wow.
And the company was already doing $45 million in EBITDA. And then now they just got a free $785 million.
That's incredible. Well, good for them. I mean, it's good for them. It just sucks for the people
that are getting brainwashed by this. Yes.
Yeah. Like if grandpa, wasted 5 years of precious years of his life worried about fake news that he heard on these crazy programs, he should get a defamation, or he should get a wrongful whatever suit. Like it's just like you're doing damage to so many people. And like you said, unlike the going to the movies, the movies aren't sold to you as the truth. It doesn't say like before you watch fucking, the Mario Brothers movie, hey, this is what happens with your toys when you leave, or your video games when you're not watching. Like nothing, this is all sold as fact and it's having real world consequences. And it just sucks that once again, same as cigarettes, man, like there's people who just, they weren't aware a long time ago. They bought these things at the stores. They were told that it wasn't bad for your health and people were hurt. And I just think our media does that too in a different way. And
yeah, I mean, when you go to a horror movie and you get that 2.5 hours of thrill, you're not going home worried about zombies coming to your house.
Yeah, you shouldn't be. And they don't tell you, hey, by the way, here's a live view of a zombie apocalypse happening in Minnesota. Sleep well. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's wild.
This is essentially admitting that you lied. And the next obvious thing is, well, what else did you lie about? What else did you know wasn't true that you fabricated that impacted all these people? But that'll never come to light. But
do you know what's even more criminal is they have insurance coverage for this stuff. So it's not even coming from Fox News. It's coming from an insurance carrier. So if you're a news organization and you have to buy insurance just in case you lie, what does that tell you about the current news business?
Yeah. And that's the shame too, is it's not just them. I mean, there's some of the, I would say Fox, at least in my opinion, is some of the like, it's just gross, like it's just the way they do it. They play really dirty, but the left does it too. And they have their own way of doing it that's also fucked up. And, it's like even like we talked a lot about like the death counter all through COVID.
Yep.
It's like, come on, man. Like how much harm did that cause on people? How much, whatever psychological negative effects did that have? But anyway, well, I mean, at least it's a little win in the sense that here is an admission. Number one, we got to see, that their own staff, doesn't like Trump, doesn't like a lot of what they talk about. And at least there's some sort of punishment or public knowledge. Anywho, let's wrap it up with our winners, losers, and content on. And who is your biggest winner for the last week?
Biggest winner. I do a check-in on the App Store just to see what's trending, what the top apps are.
Mm-hmm.
And my biggest winner is China. 3 of the top 10 apps globally are apps made in China. And I hadn't seen that before. Temu, which is number 1, which is a shopping site. TikTok's number 5, and Shein's number 10. Shein, a shopping app, is number 10.
Wow.
Ahead of Google Maps, ahead of Facebook, ahead of Cash App, ahead of Google Chrome, ahead of Snapchat, ahead of McDonald's. People would rather shop on Shein than eat at McDonald's via their app.
It's also crazy that like most of our top apps aren't allowed in their country.
Yep.
But we're letting them, beat us in some ways.
Kind of crazy.
It's crazy.
I hadn't looked at the App Store in a while, and I was like, oh, let me go see what's going on there.
Okay, well, props to China. Maybe that'll make our TikTok perform a little better. China, great job.
Great job, China.
Put us on that algorithm. My winner is... It's between 2. I'll give my winner to once again our H Wood and Revolve friends. I mean, they just continue to. I'm so glad they partnered up and now they work together on Coachella. But I mean, if you think about like how grand that party is and a stage and a whole bunch of performers and the turnout and the influencers, and I know that they measure all their impressions. I'm sure it was fucking insane. Just to continue to do that year over year. And, last year, I know there was a little flack for the process, the shuttle process or whatever happened that some people had a rough experience at some parts. They really did like clean all that up this year. Getting in was super easy. There wasn't crazy lines. There wasn't any of that. So just, I think props to them. Every year, they just knock it out of the park.
No, totally agree. Incredible party. Seamless, easy, a lot of fun, great food, drinks, all of it.
Yep. Love it. Okay, who's your loser?
Trying to think. I didn't really have a loser, but, the gun violence is, I don't know how to frame the loser, I guess all of us.
Yeah, man.
In the last week, Kaylin Gillis shot and killed for turning onto a wrong driveway. Peyton Washington shot for opening door to wrong car in parking lot. Ralph Yarl shot for ringing the doorbell to the wrong house.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't 1 week.
Not to mention Louisville, Nashville just happened. Yeah.
It's just like we as a country have accepted this as the norm. So I guess we're all the losers.
It's just wild. Like it's so... I don't know. It's so crazy to think that like on one hand, we're like developing AI and like, fucking Larry Page is making a digital god and all of this like grand, crazy stuff that's also dangerous. And then like people are just out there shooting each other. And, like when I saw one of the people that you mentioned was like a cheerleader that like opened the door to the wrong car.
Yep.
And a guy shot her. Like, I mean, look.
And these are in states with the most aggressive pro-gun laws.
Yeah.
So if your own citizens are voting in the politicians that are legislating these gun laws, then I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty wild, man. Okay, I agree. That's a great loser. My loser, look, I'm going to go soft on my loser. I mean this sort of in a soft way because I also don't know any of the data, but I'm going to give my loser to Coachella. The reason being is I felt like I didn't go to the actual festival, so also why I'm giving it lightly, but it just felt a little soft this year. the lineup felt a little soft. I know there's a lot of people who love like, Blackpink and all that stuff. It felt soft. I don't know what else to say. That's why I'm giving it to him. Also, Frank Ocean, don't want to hate on him, but his performance is getting a lot of backlash. I didn't see it, but I do know people that were there and then left because they thought he wasn't going on, and the rumor started to spread in the audience. Oh, he's not coming because he went on super late. I know he left super abruptly because of curfew. He doesn't perform a lot. I don't want to be too hard on him, but it just feels like there wasn't like, where was like the, Coachella and the, did you hear so-and-so did so-and-so, and did you hear blah, blah, blah. Like, I just didn't really feel that. So I don't know. We'll see. I don't know what they're feeling. I'm sure we'll see some feedback or info, probably not much, but it just feels a little soft this year.
I definitely agree. And by all accounts, the Frank Ocean performance was an unmitigated disaster.
Yeah,
sounds like he performed for like 30, 45 minutes, showed up an hour and a half late.
Yeah.
And there's internet rumors. They don't even think he's going to show up next weekend.
Yeah.
We've heard stories about pretty mega stars that Coachella is afraid to book because they're afraid they're just going to cancel the week of.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if this is the new era of, look, music's always going to be young people. And if young people, it's always going to be young stars that come up. And now in society, it's okay to just check out and not show up to your job.
Yeah. Yeah. It's rough, man. I get it. I get that Frank was like the ungettable artist, but I also wonder, is it worth it? Like, maybe he's ungettable for a reason. Maybe the guy just doesn't want to perform, is it worth all the hype? If that was that was the big thing. That was like, I think they had him on the lineup before and then COVID happened or whatever it was. And, I don't know. I know they tried everything to get him. And that was the big story, was Frank is finally performing, and then it didn't seem to go well.
Yeah. I mean, the only moment I really captured on social from not being at the festival was Justin Bieber dancing to Metro Boomin when Future came out and The Weeknd came out.
Yeah.
21 Savage. That was like an internet moment. Yeah, it's few and far between from the outside looking in.
Maybe there's also just so many festivals now,
Yeah, it's possible. So then,
like you said, when you went to Mexico City, there was a random festival that Travis Scott was headlining.
Yeah, and Rosalia and all these people.
Yeah, which we didn't even know about or even hear about.
Yeah, that's true. It's a good point.
Interesting.
Just festival fatigue.
Maybe it is. Too much festival. Make it small. Do you have any content recommendations?
Not really. I'm locked into NBA playoffs. Lakers play tonight. They play the Grizzlies.
Great games over the weekend.
Great games. Warriors seem to be on their way out. Draymond just got suspended
That's good. I'm sick of them.
for stomping out Sabonis on the Kings, so we'll see.
But
Seems
I
like a
noticed
lot
you
of-
didn't mention the biggest sporting event of the year.
Devontae Tank
Gervonta.
versus Ryan Garcia.
Yep. Gervonta, Ryan Garcia.
Javante, sorry.
Yep, that's it. That's the one. That's the event. Saturday night.
I'm pulling for Garcia.
Ugh.
I know I said that to you and Mente, and you guys got mad at me.
Oh, it's going to be a tough night for you.
I like the villain.
Yeah. Okay, well, you got it. That's your guy. You have to stick to that.
I'll stick to it. I'll bet it.
Oh, bet
one
it.
up it.
Please bet it. Oh, my gosh. They did a little IG live with a streamer that they were going to, a little Jake Paul move. The winner gets the other person's purse.
Do you believe that? There's no way that's true.
No, because it always comes
This
like,
is-
okay, make a contract, and then no one's going to sign a contract.
And this is their biggest fight.
Yeah.
So it's their biggest purse for both of them. You can't risk it.
Yeah. I agree. So I think it's all bullshit, but hey, it's getting a lot of impressions. It's going to be huge. I think it's going to also like really shake up the boxing world, because I think the boxing world plays it safe a lot, and like a lot of the best guys don't fight the best guys because they care more about their record. But I think once they see the amount of money that these guys are about to make, I think it could cause some other big fights to happen.
You would think that changes because in the UFC, it doesn't matter if you lose. You still get the next fight.
Correct. And it's like a Floyd Mayweather thing, really. You know, he was 50-0 or whatever, and everyone wants to be undefeated. It's a boxing thing. UFC, it doesn't matter. Like the best story, the best fight fucking in a long time was just Israel Adesanya coming back from a loss and being the champion again. People like a storyline more than they like, oh, this guy's just undefeated. So look, I think these guys will make so much money that, and it'll be such a big deal. And they're getting so like famous. You know, this is the only fight that I've seen get more press than a Jake Paul fight. They're on everything. And I think it'll cause some better fights.
Hope so. I like content.
That's the thing to watch. Okay, what do we got? We got a merch announcement?
Merch dropping soon. And our close friend Eric Deluxe has designed an incredible line.
Nice.
Shorts, hats, sweatshirts. If you're in the Discord, 25% off. We'll be launching them soon. It's great merch. It's basically like high-end streetwear, but with Group Chat Podcast on it.
Yeah. Okay. That's great. All right, that's it. Give us your feedback, guys. Let us know about the Wednesday episode. Let us know about the new schedule. And we're feeling really good about it. Thank you all for the support. We're out of here. Have a good rest of your week.
Peace.